All right, joining us now on In the Circle on D1 softball tradition, unlike any others, Jim Nantz would say she is making, I believe it's her 11th appearance in the history of the show. She's been on every year. It's the most by any head coach. She is entering her 14th season as head coach of the LSU Tigers, the all-time winningest LSU head coach in program history. I speak of Beth Torina, who I'm sure was thrilled with that last resume mention that I just did there. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I think that 11th appearance should make me like the favorite. I mean, I'm not saying you have to say this on air or anything, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I just, I think I might be the favorite. So,
You're up there. I mean, you're definitely on my top. You're on the top list there as the on the list there. You're always one of the emails I always send out at the New Year's. Like, all right, when does she want to do it on the episode there? That way, it gives you plenty of time to figure it out when you want to come on, which always appreciated. I think you and Lonnie Alameda are the only two coaches that have been on every year that we've existed since 2016.
I'm always in this time of year balancing, obviously our preseason practice and all things that go with that, but I'm also balancing gym meets. Don't forget I'm balancing Tatum, Tarina,
Ooh,
and
that's
Tenley Tarina gym meets and mud bugs and all the other sports. Thank goodness for Nick Tarina, who's carpooling, and my parents carpooling these kids around. But lots going on this time of year.
and lots of it. Softball's getting going. Gym mates. What's a Beth Torina like hanging out at a gym meet?
I'm fairly good except for the beam. The beam is just, I mean, that is just a mean thing to do to parents and people, putting their child on the balance beam. Like, it's just, if you want to torture somebody, put your kid on the balance beam.
Do you look away? Like what do you do?
I'm probably like hands over eyes,
Okay.
like barely looking out. So, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You want a Nick Torina story?
Sure.
So, Tatum is competing to go to regional. She's at the state meet, and we're at Missouri. And so I'm getting updates, right? And Nick keeps messing with me. So he's like, she got a 9.8 on the vault. Now we're at practice. I'm screaming out to the team, she got a 9.8 on vault. The team's cheering. And then guess what? He's like, just kidding. She hasn't gone yet. And I'm like, what?
Oh,
So then he
wow.
told me that she fell on the beam, and I thought I actually had a heart attack right there on the spot. And then he wrote back, just kidding. She got in whatever score.
Also, he
This
know
is the
like
things
oh,
he does to me. This is what he does to me. So, but you know what? He keeps my life very interesting. So I'm very appreciative.
oh, yeah, but I mean at some point that's like kind of wolf crying foul, they crying foul all the time there. At some point, it's like you gotta be, are you serious? Type of deal. But
I
wow.
needed the people to know. No, I'm just kidding. He's the
Well,
best.
he's been outed now. He's been outed. He always talks about wanting a shout out. Well, there's your shout out. What a way to get a shout out there. The Jimmy, that's wild. I mentioned it last year. You became the all-time winningest coach at LSU. You don't like that because that means they got to talk about you specifically. But you did that in Knoxville. What is that like to pass Coach Gerard? I remember Coach Gerard congratulated you there. I mean, was that a surreal moment for you? Is it still surreal that it is your 14th season there?
It is. It's a number, I'm not really into those numbers or accolades or those things. Like that's for the players. But that one I think was pretty special to me. And Coach Gerard is a great friend. She's been out at practice the last couple of days checking us out. So giving me her advice, and she'll never admit that, but I love it. I wish she would give me more of it because she has so much wisdom. But it was a cool moment to be mentioned with somebody of her caliber. And just at a place like LSU that is so special and has been, home to my family and such a huge part of my heart for all these years. It was a really neat accomplishment.
Yeah, you've coached the most games and the most wins all time there. I mean, you and Coach Gerard, and that's pretty awesome. That doesn't surprise me one bit that she's offering the thoughts there. She still has the passion for the game up in the booth.
She does. She's one of the best in the booth, man. She's awesome. I love when she does the games. She just has such a coach's mindset and can give such a different angle, I think, to the game. So it's always fun hearing her call the games. But she's out here doing her homework, taking notes on the players, making sure she's going to sound good. And in the meantime, she'll tell me her thoughts on some of the players and things, which is really fun. So I wish she'd give me more of it, but I'll take what I can get. But she's been just such a great friend and just a great friend to this program. And she is softball in Louisiana. She is why we're here, in my opinion. So she's just done so much for this game and this state.
And you've continued it. You've averaged 41 wins per season since you've been there. You're a win away from the World Series last year. I know that was painful, but yet it was a heck of a season considering some of the adversity you had with some of the injuries you had on your roster.
It was, I think it was a really sour taste in our mouth, right? Just the way that it ended, the way it finished for that senior class and that special group, we wanted more for them. So I'm not even sure I understood what a great season it was until maybe even this fall, in a moment like this where somebody kind of read last year's stats and I was like, man, they were really special. They were really special. They did so many cool things, 23 in a row rattled off to start the year. Just so many cool things about that group that I think maybe got lost because we wanted more for him there in the end.
Maybe if you had a healthy Danica coffee like you do now, you probably would be a couple wins. That's how much of a difference. You lost her during the season with an ACL injury. She was having a monster year up until that point. That's the question you're going to get asked a lot between now and opening day is how is she doing?
I think it's a fair question. I mean, I think, we talk about it all the time. If we have her and we win two or three more games, are we the eight? And then we're the hosts. And then it's a different feel. Like it's crazy to think that one moment could be that big. And of course, you can't put it all in one moment. There's a lot of moments. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of if we make a different decision here or there. And a lot of it, it's on me to make some decisions in some different spots. So, of course, there's like no one to blame about it. But she is that special and that important to us, that she does dictate a lot of what this program does and how this team has success. So I guess the silver lining is this is a young team and she is their leader. I mean, outright, ultimate, unanimous, she's it. Like this is her team and they follow her and rightfully so. She's incredibly special and healthy and going and looking great. And I just can't wait to see the season that she puts together.
Yeah, the positive is you've got her back on a team that's got some youth here, especially on the offensive end. How big is that to have an experience what she brings and the intangibles that she brings?
Yeah, she is as special as they come. She just does so many things for us offensively, but then also is just a mainstay at third base. And, her speed really changes how people play us, right? The short game is played differently because we have such an incredible speed player at third base, too. So, I mean, she brings a ton to us. I'm excited. I feel like, losing her, we never exactly found the right fit the leadoff spot. And we had some people that did a great job. Sierra Daniel, just a freshman, stepping in and trying to fill that leadoff spot. What a tough spot to be in. But I feel like we never quite found the right combination without her. So it's exciting to see her back and going. And I just can't wait to see the season she puts together.
You lost a great senior class, Briggs and Pleasants, who are still on the program. They're on your coaching staff, which we'll get to in a little bit. Allie Newland, Petty, Gutierrez. I mean, just speak of that senior class as a whole and what they meant to you.
Are you trying to make me depressed here this morning? Trying to make me feel bad?
No, we're honoring them. They deserve it. They with all the accomplishments, they should be mentioned.
They really do. They're really incredible. I mean, the commitment they made to this place, some of them for 5 and 6 years, they're just incredible people. I loved every minute of coaching them. It was so easy to coach them. You could just sit back and let them do their thing. They would uphold the standard. They would, do everything at the highest level. They practiced every day at such a high level. Their attention to detail was off the chart. So, it's fun to have a few of them still around, Taylor, Sierra, Raylene still around too. So it's fun to still have a few of these guys still around. It softened the blow a little bit for me, and losing some of my favorite people on the field. But they're doing a great job, and it's been fun letting them see the other side of it.
You obviously don't replace players like that. That being said, it creates opportunities for other players. Who are some players that have stepped up in the fall and you think could be a big part of this team this year?
Well, I mean, I think we were lucky to do what we did in the transfer portal. And when we're talking about, replacing a Taylor Pleasance or a Sierra Briggs, we were lucky to get Avery Hodge and Jayla Lassiter out of the portal. Those guys will make an immediate impact, just experience already a ton of just talent and swag about them. Like they're just fun and, have just really enjoyed the addition of those to the team. But then, we have some young players. You're going to see a ton of youth like right in the middle of this lineup. Tori Edwards is a redshirt freshman. She got hurt last year. early on, didn't see a lot of time. But I mean, you're going to see her right smack in the middle of this lineup to start this year. So Michaela Walker has had an incredible fall. I think she's another one that just has been with us a couple of years. It hasn't had a ton of opportunity, and she's going to get that now. So these are some names that you're about to know. You may not know them yet, but you're about to know them because they're special and they're going to be right in the heart of this lineup.
How would you describe the identity of this offense this year?
Well, I can tell you what we want to be is tough. What we want to be is the fighting tigers. What we want to be, is team a team that's resilient. I think, that's who we need to be. But I think this team runs well 1 through 9. I think there's a ton of speed. I think we'll try to exploit that where we can. And then we'll lean on. We do have some really experienced hitters in this lineup with Danica, with Mackenzie Rudity, who's an all SEC player. Macy Bajon is just been a mainstay for us. I mean, we think we have the best catcher in the country. So you can tell me I'm wrong, but it's okay. We think she's the best. Nobody throws like her. So she's a mainstay too. So we do have some people in this lineup that have a ton of at bats and tough SEC play, but they'll be surrounded by some athletic young players that can do a lot of different things and run well is on the list for the majority of them.
You mentioned Macy, what she does catching wise. What have you seen from her from a defensive standpoint, from a bat standpoint there that she brings there to your team? And I would imagine the leadership there helping the pitching staff.
She just walks around like a professional. She's grown a ton. I think like just the way she practices, it's just like in a professional manner. Her BP is professional. The way she handles our pitchers is professional. I mean, Sid Burzon is so special, and there's a lot of great pitching. Sid Burzon is just not easy to catch. I mean, like with what she does, like it's not the same as just having rise ball or whatever it is. Like she is not easy to handle. And Macy just does it with ease, right? She makes it look very simple. And then, with her arm, I think it is just something special. I've never really been around someone with an arm quite like this. So I think, she's able to control the game very differently for us. She's able to manage the staff and she just operates like an upperclassman right now. And it's fun to see. She's grown so much in her time here. And she's another one. I just can't wait to see what this season has in store for her.
How you feel about your defense overall? I mean, you certainly one of the to me the headliners you picked up defensively is Avery Hodge. I'm curious. She could play second, play short. I don't know if you've decided where you want to play her as far as the infield's concerned, but I would imagine she's going to be a key to your defense as well as her offense.
Oh, we've decided for sure. You'll see her at shortstop. She'll be there all the time. um, yeah, she'll be at shortstop for us. So, I think everybody thought, and my staff, even Bryce was even like, "You're not gonna like life without Taylor Pleasance. You're gonna feel bad every day. I'm not gonna feel bad one day, not one day. She's awesome, and she's gonna do it." Nothing like how Taylor Pleasance did it. It's going to look completely different, but it's going to be absolutely incredible in her own right. It's going to be great. She's going to lock it down and it's going to be fun to see. So it will not be Taylor Pleasance, but it will be awesomeness from Avery Hodge every day.
What other spots do you see defensively that you're intrigued to see how it plays out and obviously help your team?
I think there's a ton of competition on this field. I really do. I think there's a ton of competition. I mean, some players, of course, like have an upside defensively, and some, are leading the charge offensively. So I think it'll be a combination. There's going to be days where I think we match it up. And then there's some young kids that are just really swinging well that we're going to have to find spots for. Some of these freshmen need a little more time, but are really special. Destiny Harris, Samaya Jones. I mean, those guys are doing some really cool things too. So we're going to have to find some spaces where they can have some opportunities too.
Normally I would talk to you about pitching early as we did in our interview, but I had a chance to catch up with Sydney Burzon, got to meet her, and afterwards I was like, I don't need to talk to Coach about pitching at all. She took care of the staff. But, but I want to start with her because she's super smart and, of course, accomplished, two-time All-American and counting. What's it like? I mean, I was super impressed with her knowledge, the analytics angle. I mean, she's a future coach, isn't she?
Well, that's what she wants to do. She wants to coach. So she definitely knows pitching and knows the game, and she spends a ton of time studying it, studying herself from mechanics. She went to a boarding school, so I think she had a lot of time alone to just kind of be in her own self and be her own coach. And she's done that her whole life, so she just knows herself so well.
She said that when she found you, she was at cloud nine about LSU. Remember looking up to Allie Walljasper when Allie Walljasper was at LSU. Ironically, Sydney became a freshman All-American for the first time since Allie Walljasper LSU. What did you see in Sydney Burzon that got her to, to come to your place when maybe a lot of she was under maybe overlooked?
Well, I'll tell you, she came to a camp and we had a bunch of our players that were future players that were signed in the camp, right? And she was throwing at bats against them. And they all looked at me and they said, Coach, she's going to come here. She needs to come here. You need to get her. Like this has to happen. We need her. So I took their word for it and they were right. I tell you what, she is tough to hit. So but it really kind of stemmed from that. And, her travel ball coach is LSU alum. So I think, we've always had a connection there with those guys and just that probably helped fuel her love of LSU. And when we're lucky she loves us and we're lucky she loved it because it's incredible to have a player like her on our team.
Describe her IQ. I mean, she talked about analytics, working, studying video of herself with her mechanics. I mean, she's a student of the game. No part. I mean, that's a big blessing, and she's obviously one of your leaders, especially leading the pitching staff.
Yes, when she talks, everyone listens. She's not super outspoken. She's not going to say a ton, but when she talks, everyone listens. And she knows what she needs on a daily basis. She works and works and works. And she has an agenda every day. Like she understands like why she came that day and what she wants to get done and what she wants to accomplish. And my role has really just been to support her in that.
You've coached a lot of great pitchers in your career. Do you have a comp for her? Do you have a comparison for her? I mean, it's a long list of the who's who here that you've coached, but it's amazing. Really, I kind of forget how young she still is, considering what she's already accomplished.
Yeah, but I would say she's one of one. Truly one of one. And that's not to take away from the others that have been incredible here. I'm not saying she's the one and only one. I'm just saying what she does is so different. And I think that's what makes her so great is it's just something that you don't see. Her ability to have true spin down and up is I mean, I've never been in a bullpen with something like that before. So, it makes her really, really special. So, she's one of one in my book, one of one.
No doubt about that. She told me she's avoided your superstitions to carry over to her, though. She's avoided. Is that accurate?
She's probably too smart for my superstitions.
She did share a story how you moved her to a certain spot because it was working. She was pitching well, and that's when in the dugout in that spot. Do you can confirm that?
I don't remember, but it sounds definitely like something I would do. I would definitely do that.
Now you've got a pitching staff that's got a freshman, certainly a lot of people have got attention to. One of the top prospects recruits in Jayton Heavner. I couldn't believe this. First left-handed pitcher at LSU since midnight late '90s. I mean, what's it been like getting to know her and of course just a freshman, the 24 Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Florida.
Yeah, she's an incredible talent. She really is. She's going to be a household name. She's going to be a household name in college softball. She's really an incredible talent. It's been fun working with her, and she's really committed to being this two-way player. She's, first one here doing things every day, trying to make it happen. Where to hit and pitch, and in the tough SEC, we know what a challenge that is. Those people are kind of fading away a little bit, right? Because of the challenge of doing both. But she's really working hard to try to do that. And, you're going to see a lot of her on the mound this year for sure. She is a fierce competitor. And what she doesn't have exactly right in her mechanics or pitches at this point, she makes up for in her confidence and her belief. She's a true competitor. And I think it's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun ride with this one.
What's the key to developing a young pitcher that's just coming into college like her and knowing when she's ready, how much she could handle? I mean, there's a process into all this. So take me through that developmental stage as a coach. You've done a great job with a lot of players developing them as time goes. Some of them have been ready to go right away. Some of them have taken some time. How do you process all that as a coach?
Yeah, I think it's a balance, and I think it's also everyone's different. I mean, everybody's coming in at a different spot. I mean, coaching a player as elite as Jaden that had that much success, I think um, you got to be gentle, right? Like, there's no need to make an overhaul here or make big changes or doing that stuff. And she's had so much success. So I think it's just supplementing her and trying to make what she already does great better. And that's been the goal, is just trying to, make some things cleaner and add a couple pieces. But at the end of the day, she's been great her whole life. So we don't need to reinvent that. We need to just kind of turn her loose and let her be herself.
You've added also Ashley Vallejo, who's the fifth year. Not every day you can find a pitcher that's won 45 games. She's coming off an injury, a knee injury last season. I'm sure you've faced her through all those McNeese LSU games, so you probably had a pretty good scouting report on her. Tell me about how she can impact. I mean, she's a kid that's pitched in big games.
She has, and that's, I think, the draw to her, right? Is she's got a ton of experience in regional final. I mean, she's been in some huge spots for her team and she's carried them through it. Southland Pitcher of the Year 1 year. So she's put together a really incredible career. So will be fun to see her compete too. And, she brings a very different look than the others. I think we've like put together a nice staff of different looks, different feel. I think will be tough to prepare for with all of the looks, but I think she brings a lot to the table. We were all really, really excited to add her to this team.
You've got Tatum back, who's also had some injuries in her past there. Just speak of the rest of the staff as a whole and how they complement each other.
Yeah, Tatum Clopton's going to be a great story because she's thrown really well this fall. And after everything she's been through with this shoulder injury and just fought back from this deal, it's really going to be a fun story to tell because I think she's going to have a great year. So I know everybody's pulling for her. She's an incredible person too. She's a household favorite among this team. So going to be fun to see that story. And then Emily Casanova is a fifth year, and just the epitome of what you would want a LSU softball player to be. I mean, just in the classroom, the way she goes about her work, she's just as consistent as anyone you can get. And she's added some pieces this year too. In a scrimmage yesterday, our team had some fits with her. So I hope this is going to be her year as well.
Obviously, certainly with Jayton and her anticipation, this is part of a highly touted freshman class, one of the best in the country, ranked super high. For those that are into that stuff, go ahead and go, look that up. I want to see how they do on the field, but there's a lot of talent. Describe this freshman class you've got.
Yeah, they are special. And I think overall, just athleticism is how you would describe them. They can just do a lot of things. They can swing for power. They can also run well. It's a deadly combination, right? So I think just a ton of athleticism, top to bottom in these guys. Like when you look at them, you would think like, man, those are just great athletes. Samaya and Destiny, Alex Franklin, Zoe Calvez, Jada Phillips, who you will see, quite a bit of time, just giving Macy some breaks back there at catcher. Everybody needs two catchers, and Jada Phillips will be ready to go back there. So, they are really special and really athletic.
Are your leaders vocal type leaders or by example?
Well, I think we have a little bit of all of it. We've definitely got some voices, strong voices. So, we're from Louisiana. We're always a little bit crazy. We've always got some of those Louisiana girls that aren't afraid to speak their mind. So I think we've got a little bit of everything. And then still trying to like decide, obviously Danica, is a big part of the leadership of this team, but then I think still trying to understand who we are a little bit. A lot of new faces, a lot of voids left in the leadership roles in this team. So I think still trying to determine who's going to take that on and run with it as we move forward.
Do you have a theme to the season?
Of course. Come
What
on.
what's
I
what,
mean,
what do we got?
the
Is it,
theme is called Volume 33, and it's about writing your own story. It's about books, and we've done some cool stuff. So I'm a big reader, so it's been a fun one for me. But had a cool book swap at Christmas, and we've been getting feedback on all the things they're reading. But it's really all about writing your own story, being bound for greatness. I can give you all the taglines you want with this one.
that's pretty good. Is there any rules as far as what kind of books it's got to be? Is it a subject genre? It could be any book. What are we talking about here?
It was something that was meaningful to you in your life. So that was all. There was fiction and nonfiction, biographies and, Christian books. I mean, you name it. We had a little bit of everything. So, and there was some fights for some books. I mean, it got ugly for a few of these. So
I like that. And then the theme, writing your own story. That's brilliant. Like, let me ask you this. When you came out of Florida, if I would have told you that your story would be going into coaching as long as you have and the success you've had, would you have believed that story?
So one reason why I love this theme is, I was on the first team and our locker room was like, I don't even think this building is like a thing anymore, right? But we had this locker room. We had to drive ourselves over to it every day down the road. But above all of our lockers, it said, "History will be good to me as I intend to write it." Right? Famous quote. And it has like stuck with me my whole life that that's what, Coach chose to put over our lockers. And that kind of hit me a little bit with this year's team. Just so many new faces, so many people trying to make a name for themselves, not a ton of returners, like a lot of probably question marks about what LSU is going to be. And the cool thing is they hold the pen and they can be whatever they want to be in this group. And they're working really hard to be something special.
That's man, you're coming down with the great quotes here. I'm good thing I'm recording this. I might, I'm just gonna quote you now. Anytime I use these quotes, I'll give you all the credit.
I didn't write that quote,
I am just gonna give you the credit. That's where I heard it from.
It's
Until
very famous. So
that's very good. Now I want to kind of you mentioned obviously Pleasance and Briggs, who I got to meet last year. They were on the podcast last year. They're on your coaching staff, I believe, as GAs. What has that meant to this team, and what has that meant to you and your staff?
I'm trying to think of how Taylor said it the other day. Someone asked her about coaching. She was like, "You have control of more, but you're in control of less." Like, you know, she's like, we may write the practice plan, but you're in control of a lot less of what happens within every game. So it's been cool letting her see the other side. I think they're both just made to be coaches, especially Sierra and her upbringing with her, parents that coach and that are so involved in the game of softball. Sierra is just intense in how she practices and works. And then Taylor has just done so many things in her softball career, with Team USA and just playing some pro this summer. She just has so many good words and is able to communicate so many cool things. She's been a big part of our infield this year. And I know they really appreciate her perspective. It's totally different with somebody that stood out there and, can say I did it this way and has the credibility to stand up and say that. So it's been fun having them see the other side. And I ask them for advice all the time. I'm like, did you actually like when we did that? Or did you hate that? And kind of getting their perspective on some things too.
Has it been easy or hard for them to be in the dugout during a practice, doing things? As I've seen it in the past when players get in there as a coach, as a GA, that it takes them a little while to get used to being in the dugout and not playing. They're so used to being on the field that it's sometimes they struggle with that a little bit. If they struggle with that a little bit, has it taken them some time to get used to it, or are they used to it by now?
I would say Sierra especially. She still is itching to play. She's out there taking reps anytime she can and hitting, and she still has a lot of playing in front of her. They both do, right? They're both still continuing on to play. So, but I think Sierra more than anything just loves this game and loves playing this game. So that transition has been tough for her. But she's doing a great job with our team, and it's just really easy for them to have credibility because of how they carried themselves through this program the entire time.
That's amazing. So they're likely coaches adding to your coaching tree, which is a big list. We've talked about it in the past, but I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Do you have got currently five Division One head coaches? There was part of your coaching tree. That's the second most currently of any coach that they have from their coaching tree. You're only trailing Patty Gasso. She has a few years ahead of you there. She's coached a few. She has seven. You've got five. That's the top two most ever. Like to put that in perspective, Rhonda Ravel has four, Patrick Murphy has four, Tim Walton has four, Heather Tarr has four, Cindy Ball Malone, who you've gotten to know, actually has four herself. Five. Can you, top of your head, can you guess the five?
No, don't put me on the spot.
Would Nick, let me ask you this: would Nick be able to figure it out, top of his
Yes,
head? You think he would?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right. We have to
yes,
test him. But so you have Bianca Bell, who's at
yes,
Bryant, Sharonda McDonald at Michigan
yes,
State, Victoria
yes.
Haywood at Nevada,
Okay.
Kara Dill at UT Arlington, and Lindsay Leftwich at NC State.
Oh, Lindsay, I forgot about that one. That was the one I was probably missing because she's like my person, not even like part of the tree. She's like, I forget that. She did this alongside me, not under me, so I forget that.
She's doing well, by the way. Had a heck of a first year at NC State turning around that program. I know you're not surprised. In fact, she even mentioned that when I spoke to her earlier. She's like, yeah, I guess she was right. I would be a good head coach. She reluctantly had to admit that you were right. I don't know, that's a deal. But what did you see in her that you thought she would be a great head coach?
She just loves people differently. I mean, she also operates every single day with the highest level of energy and positivity and excitement and loves this game. And she's the cool thing about her too is she's not prideful at any moment. So she's never going to think she knows it all. She's always going to keep learning and just finding like the best possible practices for her team and going to be cutting edge. But at the end of the day, all of that aside, she loves people so well that I don't know how anybody would want to play for her, just because of how she's going to care for you and be a part of your life for 4 years, but forever too. So man, she's still my go-to on a lot of things. Don't worry. Don't worry. We talk all the time.
Well, I want some stories because I'm going to see her opening weekend in Orlando, so I definitely need some scoops here I can use for her on the broadcast there. But I've talked to you about how you develop pitchers and how you evaluate talent and all that. How do you evaluate people that would become great head coaches or assistants on your staff? How do you evaluate that? Because you've had a high success rate. I mean, that's an impressive numbers that you have had that people are involved in the game in a short period of time in your coaching career. Really, when you think about it, I mean, Coach Gasso has 7. She's coached over 30 years. You've got 5 in like half that time.
I, I don't know.
Oh, you're keeping the secrets here.
No, I mean, I would say like that I'd probably judge the person first before their knowledge base. I think like there's a lot of different ways to do softball and you can teach people softball, but just finding people that are loyal and good-hearted people, I think like that's kind of where I've always started when I've been looking at staff. And then I hope that this is true, but I don't know. You'd probably have to ask them. I think I give them a lot of autonomy to do their own thing here. I don't think I micromanage people. I think I let them have opinions. I mean, I ask opinions of everybody. I ask opinions of, the players and the managers and, the coaching staff. So I hope I give them a lot of ownership of what we're doing and makes them confident to take the next steps in their career. I would say in the hiring, it's a people first and a softball second. And then, as we're moving forward, just giving them some ownership of what we're doing.
What's the biggest advice you give people when they ask you? What's the most common question you get asked when they seek advice from you and they're getting into coaching? Maybe they're becoming a head coach for the first time. I know in some cases you've been asked about people that are head coaches that are also moms and trying to balancing that life act, which is not easy. I know Charlotte Morgan's told me she seeked to your advice when she became a head coach. What are the most common questions you get, and what advice do you give them?
I do get a lot of mom questions. I feel like for a while it was like every pregnant coach was like I was on speed dial for in the country. I got a pretty awesome mom sitting behind me now too. Here, Sandra just walked back in. I'm really, really proud of her and what she's doing too, and just cool that she has these 2 babies now, and I had 2 babies too. Let me tell you, it is not easy. It is really not easy. She probably doesn't know which way's up from down, but still continuing to like be herself and just absolutely bring so much to the table here at LSU softball. So I think probably a ton of mom questions is what I would get. And my best advice to them is always like, sweetheart, you just wake up every morning and figure it out. It is not pretty. It is not planned. You just like wake up and do it. And sometimes your athletic trainer holds a baby and you have a station where you pass the baby while you're hitting off the machine and then shagging and then you watch a baby. It just like doesn't always work out as planned and you just wake up every morning and figure it out. But it can be done. It can be done. Both of us in this room are living proof that it can be done. You can mom and be a coach. It is possible, although tiring.
Well, you mentioned Sandra played for you. Has now been on your staff. What has she meant to you? And what is it like? And what does she bring to the table as a coach?
Well, I'm not exaggerating when I'm telling you she's one of my favorite people on the planet. And I'm not just saying that because she's sitting behind me. I say that all the time about her. Just like what she stands for and who she is just so cool. Probably more than anybody we have here, she bleeds purple and gold. She's just represented us at the highest level. And yeah. I told the team yesterday I'm a little bit scared of her at times, because she's pretty intense. And she's not afraid to speak her mind and demand greatness out of everyone, including me, because she knows that's what this place deserves. But it's really cool, I think, what she brings to the team. And not a lot of people have given a full-time staff member to slapping and base running and outfield play. And that's really what her role is on this team. And she's methodical about it. So detailed, so well thought out. Her players that she works with on the daily basis are incredibly lucky to have a coach like this that is so detail oriented. So she brings a ton to us. She's at this point the ultimate tiger we have around here. So
It's just so cool. You have so many former players in the game, and you've got some of your former players on your staff. And I know in talking to a lot of your former players in the past, the thing is that they know you're authentic. What you get is real, and that they like that a lot, and it kind of inspires them in a lot of ways to either get into coaching or like run through a wall for you. There, that's got to mean a lot. That's that loyalty and trust. That's a factor too that they bring to the table that makes them good people, but also good coaches on your staffs in this case.
yeah, we have Zach on staff too, who is one of our student managers and now working as our assistant this year. And he also does our data for us. So he's another one that we've kind of, helped to grow through the program. He was at Missouri as well and, with Coach E. So he's had a lot of good experience and we've grown him through the program. So it is fun to kind of grow your own people that know, what the things that you stand for and the things that are important to you. And I mean, at some point they know your coffee order too. Like it's just nice to like have your people around you that you've known for a long time. It's like a comfort factor. And then thankfully for me with these guys, they don't ever let me be truly comfortable because they're always like demanding my best on a daily basis. So I love this staff. And then, Bryce, he's not a homegrown talent, but he definitely pushes us forward every single day. Incredible forward thinker. He makes us the most uncomfortable around here, but it's in all the best ways because he's challenging us to be better every day.
I remember meeting him in Clearwater, and him and his dad, and then it made me feel old because it reminded me about how I covered his sister, uh, there in Tulsa, there back in the days, which was like, but no, it was cool to meet them last year in Clearwater there, and that was a lot of fun. And that's the thing, you've had a lot of success developing team managers, GAs. I mean, I think to Riker Chasen, who's now back in coaching. I think to guys like Adam DeRush, who's a director of ops, UCF, and he worked on you. I mean, it's not just like, hey, former players and they go on to coaching. It's all over the staff of yours that move on to bigger things. Which is that by, I mean, not by accident. Clearly, there's something there. What is it about that that's involved in your program ends up doing whatever they are want to achieve?
Like I said, I think we give people a lot of ownership and I think we give them opportunities to, weigh in on things and understand the game. And, I think back to having Lance, and Riker and those guys, Zach in the bullpen with me every day, just, sitting around taking it in. And you just lean over and you say like, hey, what do you think? And just like talk the game with them. And I don't know. Again, maybe I've just been lucky and gotten some really great people to come through here because I really have. I mean, there's a ton of special people that have touched this place. And when, circling it all back to you saying, all these wins and accomplishments and things, it is surely because I've been standing on the backs of some of the best people in the whole world. So it's really been a fun journey. You're making me get emotional this morning thinking about all my people. So because that's why we're doing it, right? Is these relationships and having fun with our favorite people.
Yeah, you've contributed to the game. The only negative is you got to now face them. Like it feels like a lot of them are in the conference in the SEC. Like go somewhere else, coach somewhere else. But that's my segue to the SEC. Certainly a very anticipated season in the SEC with the additions of Oklahoma, Texas. It's real. It's here now. What's it been like having Coach Gasso and Coach White in the meetings and just this conference, which was already the best in the sport, now just getting even better to a different level.
I tried to describe this yesterday. I'm like, well, we already had all 13, and now we added the two from the national championship game. Like I was trying to describe this to someone yesterday. It's like outside the softball bubble a little bit, and it's just it was a gauntlet. It's only getting harder. I think that's such a fine line of like balancing your players' confidence and competitiveness as you like, you know, grind through this season. And I hate the word grind, but it's like that's what you're doing. Like you're battling it out every single weekend. So that's part of why we try to, preach to this offense about toughness and just being resilient, because obviously you're going to take some lumps in this league, right? I mean, it's inevitable. But it's going to be fun. And I think we have to view it as every week's a challenge. And that's why they came to LSU to be challenged every single weekend.
My last question to you as you get going to the season, what are some key questions you kind of are intrigued about this team that you're looking forward to finding out when you face other opponents that might help determine how this team writes its own story?
Yeah, I would say all of them, which is crazy. But it's like so many new faces, and even the ones, with experience, like from the transfer portal and places, it's like we don't know what they look like here in Tiger Park. So I think just like so many questions, and it's a different type of excitement. Like last year, you kind of could look at the schedule and be like, okay, well, this team's going to pull off this game, and this team's going to do this, and if Danica doesn't get a hit, Sierra's going to get a hit, and Taylor's going to get a hit. But this group's kind of like, man, I can see this lineup being, changing quite a bit throughout the season. I can see a lot of different faces and people being contributors. So, I know we just continue to stand on Sydney Berzon, and as long as we keep her on her feet, the team will stay in a lot of ball games. So I know we have that in our pocket. But the rest of it, I think, will just be exciting to see what this group is going to be.
That is LSU head coach Beth Torina, the all-time winningest LSU head coach in program history. There's some milestones coming up this year. I'm not going to mention here because she doesn't like hearing about that stuff, so I will do that. I'll pass that along to Nick and others there. She begins her 14th season LSU softball coach. Always a pleasure. Enjoy getting together every year and talking. I have written you down as a possible contender for the 1000th episode, probably somewhere at some point next year. But until then, stay healthy, and certainly have fun and good luck this season. I'm sure we'll cross paths during the season, but seriously, thank you so much for all these years, always coming taking the time from the busy schedule, not just with your getting your team ready, but with family and everything, taking the time to talk to us here on In the Circle.
I will start my campaign for the 1000 now. The campaign starts now. There'll be signs, there'll be buttons. We'll get it all done.
Ooh,
So,
deal.